A struggling game company in a fight to stay alive. Invest everything in a new console. Will it succeed or die trying? Let's take a look at the Sega Dreamcast.
What's up guys, Retro Gamer Gen X back with another look at video. And in today's look at, we're going to be checking out the Sega Dreamcast. We'll be taking a look at the history of the Dreamcast, what's inside of it, what makes it tick. Then we'll be doing a 360 tour of the console itself. Then after that we'll power it on and do some gameplay. And at the end of the video I give my thoughts and opinions about the system itself. Also in between each segment I always put in commercials just showing how the system was marketed back in the day. So without further ado guys, let's go ahead and take a look.
We got her! Hi, Randy.
Well, hello.
It's thinking.
The story of the Sega Dreamcast starts in 1995. Sega was already looking into their new console. It had been reported that they held meetings with several companies to help in the development, such as Lockheed Martin and 3DO to name a couple. With the release of the Sega Saturn in 1994, and all the issues surrounding it, such as it being hard to develop for, lack of third-party developers, and issues with US retailers selling Sega products, all had Sega looking for a way out of the Saturn as financial losses were starting to take a toll. By 1996, longtime president of Sega of America, Tom Kalatski, had resigned his position and was replaced by Shoichiro Irimajari, and Bernie Stoller became Sega of America's vice president in charge of product development and third-party relations. With the release of the PlayStation and in 1996 the release of the N64, Sega saw sales dwindle. By late 1997, Sega only held on to only 12% of the game console market, with Nintendo being at 40% and Sony at 47%. Due to Sega performing so poorly, Sega president Hayao Nakayama, which had been president of Sega since 1983, stepped down. Irimajari took over the position, with Stoller becoming CEO of Sega of America. At this point, Sega discontinued the Saturn. By 1998, Sega had reported its first consolidated financial loss since 1988 on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. It reported a $269.9 million loss. Now back in 1997, Irimajari hired on IBM's Tatsuo Yamamoto to head on an 11-person team to work on a top-secret project called Black Belt. Also during this time, Sega's Hideki Soto had also started development of a new console. Reports vary whether or not Irimajari had started the two-team development, or if Sato started it on his own. Sato's group decided to go with Hitachi's SH4 processor with the Video Logic Power VR2 graphics processor by NEC. This project was named White Belt, then changed to Doral, named after the female fighter in the Virtual Fighter game series. Yamamoto's team decided to go in another direction. They decided to go with the 3DFX Voodoo 2 and Voodoo Banshee GPUs and a Motorola PowerPC 600E CPU. Sega's management ultimately decided to go with Sato's design using the SH4 and PowerVR architecture. This decision was thought to have been made because of Sega's relationship with NEC being a Japanese company. Stoller didn't like the idea of the use of the PowerVR GPU and wanted to use the 3DFX GPU, but Sega of Japan ultimately decided to go with the PowerVR, which led to a lawsuit by 3DFX against Sega for breach of contract, and was settled out of court with an undisclosed amount paid out to 3DFX. At this time, the project was renamed again to Project Katana. Also during this time, EA Games was not happy with Sega's decision to go with the PowerVR GPU either. They didn't really know how to program for it, instead wanting Sega to go with the 3DFX. Also, EA wanted an exclusive contract for sports games, which Sega didn't want to do. Because of this decision, no EA games would be available on the Dreamcast, and Sega went on to produce their own sports games along with developer Visual Concepts, which headed the 2K Sports game series. Sega touted the system to be easy to develop for, unlike their previous system, the Saturn. So easy, in fact, that you could make a game that would run on a Pentium 2 200 PC and easily port it over to the new system. Microsoft developed a custom version of Windows CE that ran on the system using DirectX's APIs and dynamic link libraries, making it really easy to port over PC games. Sega also made their own OS to be used in the development of games for the system, with most developers going with it instead of Microsoft's OS as it had greater performance capabilities. The Katana project was revealed on May 21, 1998 in Tokyo, and Sega held a public naming competition for the new system. Over 5,000 names were submitted, with Dreamcast being the chosen one, thought up by developer Kinji Uno. The name is a combination of the words dream and broadcast. It is said that Sega spent $80 million on hardware development, up to $200 million on software development, and $3 million on promotions and advertisements worldwide getting it ready for launch. The Dreamcast was launched in Japan on November 27, 1998 for the price of 29,000 yen, with 4 games available at launch. Within one day they had sold out of the entire inventory of Dreamcast. Sega at this point hoped to sell more than 1 million units by February of 1999, but only sold 900,000 units, falling short of the mark. Because of this, and the fact that Sony had just leaked info about the upcoming PS2, Sega lowered the price of the unit to 19,900 yen, which helped give Sega 17% of the console market by late 1999. In August of 1999, Stoller had been fired and Peter Moore had took over his position. The Dreamcast launched on September 9, 1999 in North America with 18 games available for the price of $199.99. But Sega had started thinking about the American market and started a contract with Hollywood Video to rent the console out before the launch date, giving people a sneak peek at the console before it actually launched. Sega also repaired its relationships with the American retailers that stopped selling Sega products after the early release of the Saturn. Sega hit a sales record, selling more than 255,000 units in the first 24 hours. By November, Sega had announced that they had sold over 1 million units. Things were looking good for the Dreamcast. But as the launch of the PS2 was coming and more info about it was coming out, sales of the Dreamcast started to slow down. The PS2's GPU is much more powerful, but the thing that kept people from buying the Dreamcast was the fact that the PS2 would be able to play DVDs and have games on DVD, giving games much more space for programs and making bigger and better games. Also, Nintendo announced their next upcoming console, the GameCube, and Microsoft started development of the Xbox. Sales of the Dreamcast dwindled, and Sega reported a net loss of $404 million by March of 2000. Moore had said for the Dreamcast to be viable, it would have to sell 5 million units by the end of the year. Unfortunately, it only sold 3 million, leaving Sega with another loss of 163 million, and by March of 2001, it had went over $417 million in losses. On May 22, 2000, Sega chairman Asio Akawa replaced Irajimami as president of Sega. He had always wanted Sega to get out of the hardware market and become just a developer. In September of 2000, Sega held a board meeting and agreed at this point to leave the console market. On January 31st, 2001, it was announced that the Dreamcast was to be canceled in March, and Sega reduced the price of the unit to $99 to get rid of the remaining inventory. The price was reduced 2 more times to $79 and then $49. This marked the end of Sega becoming a console manufacturer. It also marked the end of an era, and the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast was officially canceled on March 31st, 2001. So that brings us to the end of the Dreamcast story. With the console launching in 1998 in Japan and being discontinued worldwide in 2001, gave the system a short 3-year lifespan, selling over 9 million units in total and being Sega's last video game console.
This is the day you have trained for, the day you have studied for. Utilize your superior skills, your superior intelligence.
Sit down, rodent!
Sarah, baby? Oh, you were one fly. Don't make me hurt you.
Learn to defeat your ruthless enemy, Steve of Hackensack.
Ryan, you're gonna get rude.
Shut up, quadruped.
Sega Dreamcast. It's thinking.
Now let's take a look at the inside of the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast had 3 revisions of motherboards, but there may have been more. The ones I know of are revisions VA0 through VA2. The first chip we will look at is the CPU. The Dreamcast had a Hitachi SH4 RISC processor running at 200 MHz, which was rated at 360 MIPS, had an 8 KB instruction cache, 16 KB data cache, and a 128-bit floating point unit. Next we have the GPU known as the Holly chip. This chip ran at 100 MHz and was powered by the Videologic's VR2 rendering engine and made by NEC, and integrated with the ASIC. It was capable of drawing more than 3 million polygons per second. Sega claimed up to 7 million, but with decreased performance of the system. It was capable of trilinear filtering, garage shading, Z-buffering, spatial anti-aliasing, per pixel translucency, sorting, and bump mapping. It was able to produce over 16.6 million colors and had a maximum display resolution of 640 by 480. For the sound of the system, it uses a custom ASIC sound processor made by Yamaha called the AICA. It's basically an improved version of the SC-SP chip used in the Saturn. At the heart of the chip is the ARM 7DI processor running at 2.82 MHz. It is capable of producing 64 PCM channels of sound at 8 or 16-bit and a sampling rate of 44.1 kHz. It also included an AD PCM decoder. All this making it about 100 times more powerful than the SCSP chip in the Saturn. The Dreamcast had a system ROM chip as well. This 2 MB chip held the system's OS that would bootstrap the games and also contain the I/O functions for the GD drive. Next, we'll go over all the RAM in the system. It had a total of 26 MB of RAM. The first RAM chips are these 2 8 MB chips. This is the main system RAM. Next, we have these 4 RAM chips. These are 2 MB per chip, totaling 8 MB for storing textures and shading for the video RAM. Then we have this 2 MB chip for the sound RAM. That about does it for this look inside. There are some other chips on the board such as the RGB encoder, op-amps, voltage regulators, but we really have covered the main chips on the board.
So we'll take a 360 tour of the Dreamcast here, guys. So as you can see, this is the top of the Dreamcast. We have the power button here to turn the system on and off. We have the open or eject button to go ahead and open up the disc tray here. Then in the front we have 4 controller ports, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on the sides, basically molded plastic, really. Although on this side, we do have the modem, which you can see here in the back. So this is how you would connect the Dreamcast. Here's the modem coming out, and you could connect the Dreamcast to the
what was that? The Dreamcast network or whatever it was. I forgot what it was called, guys. I'm sorry. But here on the back, we also have the AC jack or plug. Then we have the AV out. And here's a serial cable as well. So that's pretty much the tour of the Dreamcast. Now let's go ahead and take a kind of a look at the controller here. So the controller is a little different. We have the cord coming out the bottom instead of the top because the memory cards, or what they're called the VMUs, actually plug in to the top of the controller here. And obviously you guys know it has a little screen, and then some games supported where you could put mini games on these and take them with you and play them. So that's kind of cool. But really just your basic controller. You have your triggers down here, which are analog triggers, analog stick, D-pad, and 4 buttons. And then your start button here. So that's pretty much the 360 tour of the Dreamcast, guys. So let's go ahead and power this thing on and do a little bit of gameplay.
Select a character.
Let's get him! Oh yeah! This is happening! Huh? What's up?
You are completely surrounded! Surrender yourself! target, men! Ready? Fire! Oh no! Our weapons are useless! Retreat! All personnel, fall back!
Oh yeah! This could be fun! Hey, I'll play with you some other time.
Hey, come on over, have some fun with Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi! It's party time, let's have some fun. Alright, let's go make some crazy money. Go ahead and pick a car and driver. BD Joe!
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Taxi!
To the rescue.
You're cool. Take me to the cable car. Up
Yeah,
on the
we
hill.
be on our way.
Yeah.
Yo, stay in your seat.
I'm bonus.
Fixed.
Didn't
That's the
expect
way
to get
to
here
do it.
so fast.
At your service.
Good job. Can you take me by the beach?
You gonna love this.
Go that way.
Well, come on, D. Let's get going.
Yeah. Go. Watch it,
Well,
you
come on,
fool.
D. Let's get going.
That hurt. Pay more attention. That was too dangerous. Careful. Go that way.
Yo, stay in your seat.
Oh.
Hey, you're going the
Yeah, I
wrong
got
way. Follow the arrow.
I
I'm
guess I'll
bonus.
check y'all later.
Thanks.
Oh, not bad.
That's it.
Yo, we gotta move.
Hey, step a little closer. Can you take me to the
You
cafeteria?
gonna love this.
Go straight, baby.
Right on.
That was too dangerous. Careful.
I'm bonus.
Some time.
Oh,
Oh,
thanks.
not bad. Yo, we gotta move.
Yo, can't you park it here? Take me to the park.
It's party time. Right on. Yeah, I guess I will see you right. Whoa, not bad. I gotta get some grip. I'ma have to quit. At your service.
Good job. Take me to Pizza Hut.
You gonna love this.
Hey, you're going the wrong way. Follow the arrow.
Hey, hey, hey!
Oh, come on, these. Y'all, you ain't got to worry.
Running out of time. Hurry!
Time's
Suck.
up.
Look at the time.
Made, Randy. You have no idea how it was back in the Genesis days. We couldn't think, couldn't adjust. Look what you got! My receivers couldn't do that, and our defense sucked. You'll never get beat by the same whack play over and over. You better appreciate what you got, Junior. Hey, let me go.
I think Ojimbo got hold of a bad taco.
Hey, I'm a legend.
NFL 2K on Sega Dreamcast. It's thinking.
So we've come to the end of the video where I give my thoughts and opinions about the system. And, you know, what can I say about the Dreamcast? It was a pretty cool system. Now, unfortunately, by the time the Dreamcast had launched, I was already full into the PlayStation. and I was waiting for the PlayStation 2 to come out simply because it had a DVD player in it. I didn't have a DVD player, and seeing I could get a game console and a DVD player at the same time, it was kind of a no-brainer. But I did rent the Dreamcast a couple of times, probably in the very late 90s, from Hollywood Video. And what can I say? I mean, it was a great system. I mean, it was way better than what the PlayStation 1 and what the Saturn and even the N64 was putting out at the time. But unfortunately for Sega, once again, they just kind of put the system out a little bit too early. And going with that GD drive instead of a DVD drive kind of killed it for them. And then the lack of third-party developers on the system really kind of killed it too. Now, really, I don't know much about the Dreamcast because, like I said, guys, I waited for the PlayStation 2 to come out, and I was full into PlayStation at the time. So, besides a couple times that I rented it from Hollywood Video, I really didn't have much experience with it until I actually got into retro gaming years later, and I got a Sega Dreamcast then. And the games are great. I mean, they really are. They're pretty much like the same quality of PS2 games, I would say. Close, real close. But honestly, by this time, Sega was already thinking about getting out of the console market and had the fire sale on these Dreamcasts and basically discontinued it. And that was the end of Sega's consoles. So, unfortunately, kind of an end of an era at that point. So, but anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And I just wanted to thank all my subs that have subscribed to me. And if you like the content, don't forget to click that like button. And if you haven't subbed, go ahead and click sub and hit that bell too. That way you get notifications every time I drop new content like these. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. You have a great one. Peace out, y'all.
Game over, man. It's game over.